What's up, travelers? Today we are going to do something a little different than my normal videos. Today I want to have a nice long chat about No Man's Sky, because relatively recently they came out with a new expedition. This expedition is called Adrift, and it mentions that you'll be venturing across the universe, recruiting a new frigate and a companion. It all sounds like some fun rewards, so I thought, why not? Well, spoiler alert, it was a bit of a letdown. Before we get into the expedition, I just want to show off I do have hundreds of hours in No Man's Sky, so I am by no means new to this game. I've just never had a good opportunity to join in on the expeditions before, and I've always really wanted to. I've read about them, I've watched gameplay trailers, and the idea of playing with a ton of others towards a common goal, it's something that always gets me really excited in games. It truthfully brings me back to opening the gates of Encourage in World of Warcraft as a kid. Whenever it's like a group of people trying to accomplish something like that, I don't know. It gets the nostalgia, I guess. So, I just wanted you all to know I really am a veteran when it comes to No Man's Sky before I give my opinions this video. Right? I've got this almost S-class settlement, I've got an S-class freighter, frigates, S-class personal ships, exotic ship, organic living ship, whatever, S-class guns and the new staff anomaly thing. I've just about seen it all, done it all. Okay. Okay, so with that said, let's get into today's video topic and start this expedition adventure. When I first heard there was a new expedition, like I said, I was really excited. I've missed out on these experiences before, and to me, it seems like some of the most fun opportunities that you can have in this game. I did see that it said it's an empty universe in the expedition description, but honestly, the game already feels mostly empty to me, so I guess I just wasn't sure what that meant. Come to find out, it simply meant that the limited AI interactions that you do have is just completely taken out. Otherwise, you're just pretty much playing the game as normal, with a handful of specific goals, most of which you would achieve anyway just by playing. A lot of the quests, I guess you would call them, inside of the phase or different phases, I was accomplishing without even trying, without even looking at them. It was just kind of boring, and I don't know why they made this other than to have a new update and say that they, quote unquote, did something. To me, it felt like I was just doing the tutorial over again, like I did back in the day when I first played this, but worse now because it doesn't have other players or NPCs. You don't have the option to just switch to creative mode and freely build whatever you want like you do these days, but I'll get into that a little bit later on. I'm actually not even sure if any of this is original content or just the same stuff that you do when you start a new game nowadays. Maybe it was a good excuse for them to show off these new giant worms, trying to catch the end of that Dune hype, or maybe they wanted to show off the customization for the ships. These were small updates that kind of flew under the radar. Maybe they just thought it didn't get enough attention, so they grouped it up into this expedition. I don't know. These are my theories. Whatever the reason for this expedition, it really felt redundant for me to play as a veteran player. And I think it's pretty understandable. I mean, Hello Games isn't always going to put out a banger update every time they do, and they put out so many for free. Like, I appreciate that. Do not get me wrong. They are amazing as a game dev studio company. I don't want to come off as ungrateful here. I just think that this specific expedition was kind of lazy and definitely boring, and I don't want to see the game continue to go in that direction. This game has built a reputation around exploration and discovery, so when new content fails to deliver on that, I think it just stands out. To me, there wasn't actually anything to discover in this expedition, besides maybe why the galaxy is empty, but probably Sentinels if I had to guess. It's not like the story writing in this game is particularly exciting. It's pretty straightforward lore for the handful of factions that there are. I don't really know what the community's expectations are for these expeditions, but this is not what I expected going into it. And after reading the Reddit for a little bit, God, I feel like I'm rapping saying these sentences. After reading the Reddit for a little bit, I had to make sure I'm not crazy before I made this video. And it does seem like I'm not totally alone in my way of thinking here. Just like you're not totally alone in the Adrift game mode. See what I did there, huh? Yeah. This expedition, it could be a cool idea from the right perspective, right? I saw people saying it's an opportunity for players to go at the speed that the game used to force you to play at in normal mode. It's a chance to have to figure things out from scratch again, instead of some player in the Nexus anomaly handing you $500 million worth of fusion igniters. It's getting back to the grind, the original challenge. And for some people, they found this really cool. I, I can kind of understand why if you're going into it with that mindset. But for me, I played this pretty regularly back in 2020. I stopped for a few years and came back to it early 2024. So maybe I'm just unlucky in my timing, but I started this out when it was still hard, when it meant something to get things inside a normal mode. You had to farm, you had to travel, the way that the game is meant to be played. And when I came back, I saw it was no longer that game. I saw it somehow became an even more casual experience, which is fine, but what's the point of doing stuff in the game if you can just give it to yourself automatically? That's just my opinion, but again, I'll dive deeper into the settings debacle later on. So, I came into this expedition expecting player collaboration, potential for multiplayer, cool challenges that we have to overcome together. Like all of the other ones were marketed as being. But instead, what I got was, well, the real experience was just super weird to me. You're supposed to be alone, but yet there's other players traveling alongside you. You find them in the space stations, you see them in the derelict freighters, you meet them running around at the rendezvous points before they fade out of existence, because you then go on to a different part of the quest than them, I assume. I'm not sure why that happened to me later on, but you'll see it. You can definitely see their buildings and their teleporters all over the place, hooking you up with fast travel towards the necessary resources. And that really begs the question to me, are you really alone? No. But can you do anything with these other players? Also, no. The big thing that stuck out in the expedition is that No Man's Sky is still under an identity crisis. They don't know if they want you to struggle and survive and explore the universe, or if it should be more of a casual mode you can go and build on whatever planet you'd like easily anytime. They don't know if they want this to be a single-player game or a multiplayer game. And they keep trying to do all of these things kind of sloppily. If this is going to be a single player experience, then we need more content, more real content. Talking to the same terminals that we normally do, going around to the same locations that we already have, and doing the same things that a player already would have done in the main quest line, that's just not fun. That's like the definition of a grind. And is that all this game has become? Just catering to the grinders? Because I don't think we need more of that. I think that's a really outdated playstyle that it's on its way out in the industry because no one has the time, the patience, the interest to do all of that. Most people would rather pay for a skin these days than go out and grind for it. So I don't think we need more grind. No Man's Sky excels the most in the vast, procedurally generated universe. That is something that has never been offered in any other game to the extent that we've seen it in this one. Still, to this day, I'm still amazed as a player and a game developer by what they've accomplished here. It's a super unique experience for exploration and discovery that is very vast, but kind of like Skyrim, not very deep. The game continually expands, introduces new features, and that's what keeps the community engaged. But despite these strengths, it really struggles with depth, both in the gameplay mechanics and the actual worlds themselves. The universe is very vast, but the activities within it become super repetitive, and the multiplayer experience feels, I mean, almost superficial at this point. So, if you want to make a deep single player experience, then you need to add a deeper system with the NPCs at the very least. The settlements, the bounties, the quests, the reputation systems, all of it is decent mechanics. They're really good foundations for gameplay, but I want to see it explored further. I want to look at something like New Vegas. Yeah, I'm one of them. New Vegas, though, they took Fallout 3 and they went so much deeper with it. How would these factions interact with each other? How would they interact with the player, depending on how your reputation is with the factions? As of right now, the factions in No Man's Sky, they're not going to treat you any differently, whether or not you're hated or beloved by them. I didn't even realize I was so hated by the Vikings from the terror acts I apparently was committing on them in my old play back in 2020 or whenever. Made no difference. You might get a discount. You might get some meaningless quests that you're able to do if you're friends with them. Maybe some free gifts now, I think, at the space stations. But none of it is really that meaningful. There should be things like making the Gex increase all their trade prices, or completely cutting you off from trade. I don't know, that would be more interesting. Make the Vikings hunt you down, both on the ground and attacking your ship. Put bounties out on you for bad acts that you've committed. Make the Korvax disable your systems. I don't know what they would do. But there should be reactions to being favorable or being hated. Additionally, they need to look at settlement building games if they want to make the NPC settlements better. That was something that they put in the game kind of haphazardly, like a lot of these things. It's interesting, it's something that players wanted and messed with, but right now you make about 3 decisions as an overseer, and then it's going to be the same decision over and over on whether or not you want to let this person into the community or let the other person into it, or whether or not you want to create I don't know, carbon nanotubes versus an oxygen farm or something. They're all just meaningless little tiny changes. They don't actually affect your gameplay at all. They're not interesting to do. And speaking from personal experience, it's almost impossible to build up to an S-class settlement. I think you have to start with one, or at least like with an A-class or something. I mean, I seriously grinded my settlement out to be at the level that it is that you saw in the beginning. And don't even get me started on the abandoned systems. Pets, they're super fun to find, the different unique races that are out there of aliens, but the customization of them, it's just weird and tedious. It's not that interesting. I mean, imagine if you could really customize your pet, deciding the size, the head style, the body style, the arm, procedurally generate your own pet with all the different parts that they have. Kind of like the ship customization, I guess. It could be so much more interesting. And additionally, the cooking. Oh my gosh. The cooking in this game, it goes so deep, like surprisingly deep. Like damn near Zelda deep. But what it is what is it? What's it good for? You make the best food in the game and it does what? Herb encrusted flesh, I think is the best, and it'll give you at most a few hundred nanites. Or if you eat it, 20% of your life support. That's the equivalent of 10 oxygen. You get more than 10 oxygen on a single plant. You get more nanites from a single rolling mold cluster. So tell me, what is the point of cooking? On top of that, look at any crafting survival game. The building system that No Man's Sky has is amazing. It's up there as one of the best that I've ever come across. But it's also pointless outside of aesthetic. I mean, ask yourself, does your character ever really need to have or need to survive or do anything out in the world when they can just hop in their spaceship at any time or summon their frigate to any solar system? Why would you ever build a base outside of personal reasons for decoration? Unless you're playing permadeath and you need to set up your teleporters and your farms. Why would you do any of this in a single player game when there's dozens of games like Valheim, Minecraft, Rust, etc. They all require you to build a base for the gameplay. You can't get away with not having a base. And they allow you to build just as good of bases that are easier to show off to others, which is going to bring me to my next point. If No Man's Sky wants to be a multiplayer game, then it needs to step it way the fuck up. I mean, listen, you've heard me say some good things, you've heard me say some bad things. Hopefully by now, you know that I really like this game, and that's why I have so many opinions and feel so strongly. So please, take this next few minutes with a grain of salt, as I am absolutely going to dump on this game. No Man's Sky is an embarrassment as far as multiplayer games go. Sure, yeah, there's the Nexus missions that are up to 4 people. It's the only way to get Quicksilver to purchase all of those sweet cosmetics. Yeah, okay, I like the idea of that on paper. A good reward system, there's group missions, but I've been on 100 of those, and I've only actually paired with a couple of randoms, I don't know, a dozen times. And out of those dozen times, maybe only once did they actually come and do the mission with me. The rest of them were just mooches, sitting around by the Nexus waiting for free loot, I guess. The missions aren't even hard. They're pretty standard. They're pretty boring, like the regular quests you find in a space station. You go collect some dirt or kill some hazardous plants. The only decent thing that you could do there is kill a sentinel station, which takes a single person, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes to do. So Nexus missions? Okay, well, Stu, you're on the derelict freighter. Those accept up to 4 people inside, and they're randomly generated rooms. It's got interesting exploration, forced first-person perspective, or at least I always use first person. I don't know how you couldn't. It's got slow walking. It's got tons of good loot. You're right. Yeah, there is a ton of potential with this one. It's too bad that there's only like 3 enemies inside the whole thing, and they barely put up a fight. It's also a shame that you can just turn on creative mode any time now to buy all of the rewards that you would have got from the vendors looking for the tainted metal out of these places. So again, it's kind of like, what's the point of me going and doing those? If they want to retain players long term, the best thing they can do is expand their multiplayer capabilities. Players are looking for reasons to return to the game and to invest their time, and right now, the game provides little to no reason to ever return. It's totally up to you. Which is fine, that's what a lot of sandboxes are, but they're leaning less and less of a sandbox and more into an RPG experience. So, I think this might also be the best move for them to make because they're going to be trying to do this Light No Fire game coming out soon, and I think that game needs to be the multiplayer RPG that people think it will be. Otherwise, it's going to face the same fate that No Man's Sky did at launch. People are not going to be happy with the lack of things to do. Obviously, I know multiplayer is hard, but I think that it's worth the investment for a game like this. And what multiplayer capabilities am I suggesting? Well, let's start simple. First of all, there needs to be a way to comment on people's bases. I don't want to report their base. I don't want to leave a message on some station way far away. I want to leave a message in their mailbox. I want to say, hey, I really loved your base design. This looks super cool. That's nothing crazy. That's nothing that they can't do. That would be so nice to be able to do at other people's bases. That just adds a layer of community already. Secondly, there needs to be a better way to find these people's bases in the first place. If it weren't for my curiosity and YouTube searching, I wouldn't have seen a fraction of the cool bases that are out there. I'm talking football stadiums, castles, mountain carvings, orbital ships, the giant space cannon that'll shoot you up into space. Yeah, you can see some cool players' bases from the Nexus. I've seen a couple that were definitely impressive. And there's also that community hub tab, but I don't think that's been updated in like at least 6 years. And the couple of bases that it has on that list, they're fine. They're pretty cool, but they are by no means the most amazing most amazing bases that I've seen in the game. So at the very least, there needs to be a system for players to vote and make it onto the community hub page to upvote or downvote a base. Maybe just only upvote, I don't care. To be able to discover the best rated bases in the game is not a huge ask yet again, but I think pretty simple and a huge change to what the community would be. Now let me get into the huge asks, because huge asks. uh, if you really want player engagement, and I mean you really want it, then you need some multiplayer combat. That is just what the kids are all about. And listen, I know this game is an exploration, survival, now crafting game. Combat was never in their original intentions, but this game has changed a lot from its original design. So, Hello Games, I think you need to look at stuff like Deep Rock Galactic and Helldivers 2. Those two games in specific, I think they could emulate their experience so easily without having to do a whole lot of work. Honestly, I can't be the only one who thinks it would fit so perfectly into No Man's Sky gameplay. Alright, gather round kids, imagine with old Stu here if you would. You go into the anomaly, you go to the Nexus. The missions that they have available, they're not that boring shit. You're not taking pictures of planets or picking up animal poop. No, no sir. No, this time you're queuing up for a war against the Sentinels. See, they're getting more frantic in this galaxy on these specific planets, and we've lost entire planets to the robot wars. You know, like the lore in No Man's Sky. Very similar to what Helldivers has. Well, like in Helldivers, you gather into a group of 4, you choose your loadout, and you get sent to an instanced planet to fight against the Sentinels. It does not need to be in the same universe as the rest of the world and the rest of the game. I don't need people outside of us 4 coming down to the planet fighting the Sentinels. I think you can use the procedural generation that you already have. Use the robot enemies that you already have. The locations, the buildings that they already have. And just create these small missions for players to do down on a planet like Helldivers 2. I really don't think it would be impossible for them to even add the freighters, having them shoot down missiles and lasers. I mean, would that be work? Yeah, certainly, but I'm not asking for new assets to be built. I'm not asking for new systems even. Just for you to make the missions more interesting. The instance zone would be the hardest part of it, but it's not something that hasn't been done before. I think that they could do it pretty easily for these multiplayer missions. Just real quick, I want to call out in this egg sequencer. I am pretty sure I am stealing from some guy at the anomaly here, and I feel so bad because I don't know who it was. I thought this was like a glitch on the game that it was just kept putting things in there, but I'm pretty sure it was another player putting their items inside of the egg sequencer, and then I just kept taking it out. So they were probably wondering, what the heck is going on? Why why does my stuff keep getting deleted? I hope they weren't working hard for those items. I hope they were I don't know, cheating to craft it or whatever, using creative mode, not cheating. You know what I mean. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. And you could take it a step deeper. Mimic the Helldivers war that the community engages with. Perhaps players can see a map in the anomaly of us really pushing back the Sentinels. Maybe there's rewards for all of those that participated in the wars. Maybe they're offered specific items for limited times, participating in the weekend battle or whatever. These are all things that Helldivers has already done that other companies do to bring players back in over and over. The system doesn't need to be deep. It doesn't need to be the entire premise of the game like it is with Helldivers. But just adding a sprinkle of that, I think would do wonders for the veterans that are already playing this game. Great. Okay, so you don't really like Sentinels that much. Sure, you don't want to go fight the bots. Maybe you're more interested in the monster monstrosities, whatever, the bug fights. Perfect. Well, in the Nexus, then you could sign up for the other 4-man missions, where you instead go into instance caves like Deep Rock Galactic. And just like No Man's Sky has, and Deep Rock Galactic does, you can dig straight through the cave anywhere you want. You can go straight to the quest objectives. You fight against swarms of the monsters, big and small. For No Man's Sky, that'd be those little green monsters and the giant tendril things. And maybe you could even add another boss creature to fight in the big rooms like Deep Rock Galactic has. And that's basically it. I mean, it'd be great if you could add like positions, like role play things like Deep Rock has, like the engineer person with the pipes or someone that makes the platforms, whatever. But honestly, I think just going into a procedural cave, it's just you and the three other people, you're digging your way to the objectives, you're fighting off monster swarms. I think that would be fun enough just to be its own little mission. And again, I don't think I'm really asking for a lot. I mean, it's asking. It's an ask, but I don't think it's a huge ask. And I think it's within this realm of possibility that they could add these missions without creating a lot of new things, just kind of reorganizing, reusing what they already have. The last thing I do want to ask for, though, and this one is a huge ask of, I mean, huge, huge. It's mods. I know. While I hate Bethesda's reliance on mods to make their games feel complete, I just really wish other companies would at least look at how accessible it is to mod their games and for players to download those mods and support the ones in the communities making the mods. I, I know it's pretty unique to Bethesda, but I wish the same for every game. So I'm going to throw it in there as a complaint too. Make it easier to mod your game. I've seen so little things on Nexus mods for No Man's Sky, and I would just really love to see what other people could create if they had the opportunity to. If they could create their own playable races, their own building items, their own ships, their own planet generations, or the alien species walking around. I mean, there's so much possibility for what you could mod in this that it makes me really sad to see that it's just not getting any of that kind of love or attention. And it's gonna make me extremely depressed if I see that piece of shit Starfield turn into an actual good game over the next 5 years, while No Man's Sky remains mostly stagnant in their gameplay. I, that would just, it would make me sad. All right, well, that's the end of my rant. I do want to reiterate one more time. I do love No Man's Sky. I've had a ton of fun in this game. I still am thinking about doing a building series in the future. I want to continue to expand my city and make it something really neat and unique to the game, something I've never seen others do before. I do really wish my biggest pet peeve with the game is that they changed the ability for you to turn on or turn off hard mode or normal mode, whatever it is, at any time. The fact that I can just go into creative and craft whatever or buy whatever, it it just really ruined the experience, the reason to grind for me. And this expedition just really highlighted that feeling for me. I mean, even with all of the changes that I mentioned, I think it would help a little around building the community, and it would keep some players coming back for those cosmetics and the PvP events. But at the end of the day, it's just too easy to get everything in this game now, and so there's little reason to come back over and over. I originally set out to make the video covering my entire expedition experience. I was going to do a series where I did one video per phase, but by the end of the first phase, I realized how boring this was going to be and just not what I hoped for at all, and not something that I wanted to continue with. So, hearing that these expeditions are a community event, I don't know, I guess I just expected a little more community. Um, this game has so much potential in it, still waiting to be used, and I know Hello Games is going to continue to deliver new updates. I just hope that they make better use of their potential in the future. Um, it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what comes later on down the road. So, anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more gaming videos. Let me know what you think about No Man's Sky. Did you enjoy the expedition? Do you think I'm onto something with these multiplayer ideas, the base building and the different missions that you could do? Or do you think I'm crazy and just asking for too much? Another entitled gamer out there. Curious to find out. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.